Hey there, welcome to another episode of Watch Soup, a live episode this week. It's Friday. Last week we experimented, Clayton, Sanjay, and I, with pre-recording it and having it go live or premiere on Sunday. We decided Clayton and I, just to do it live this weekend on a Friday. Clayton, big Detroit Lions fan. They're in the
Yes.
playoffs. So we're kind of good tiptoeing around the schedule a little bit, but after the football season, for sure we'll be back on Sundays. Clayton, how you doing, man? You're excited about your Lions this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's just a crazy weekend. So, birthday weekend for me,
Happy
which is
birthday, yeah.
tomorrow. Thank you. And then busy tomorrow, and then the Lions games early on Sunday. So Sunday night is sort of when I need to do all my laundry and catch
Yeah,
up on all my stuff. So I was like, oh, it just works better.
yeah,
So
for sure.
it's not all due to my Lions fandom, but yeah, I don't know what to do with this newfound success they're having. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well, hopefully you guys go all the way, and then this is not just like a one-trick pony. Next couple years you have build like a little bit of a dynasty. Looks like you have a quarterback who can play, and you got a pretty good team, good coach.
right.
Maybe you're on the cusp of something here. Hopefully,
Yeah, the division looks like it's going to be strong as well. Green Bay's also
Yeah,
shocked the Cowboys last week,
yeah, yeah,
which was helped us get a second playoff game at home. So that was
yeah. That's
fine, even
great.
though they're our nemesis. I hate Green Bay, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
yeah. Hopefully, you guys get a W this weekend and keep the party going for sure. Hey, what do you got on wrist tonight?
I got the chicken. I'm part of the
Oh,
chicken clan now.
yeah, let me do a solo layout.
Oh, it's terrible lighting, but,
Yeah.
I'll post a picture on Instagram, but
Okay.
it's gorgeous. Yeah, I just got it in from Japan
Yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah,
yesterday, and, yeah, the AQ 4100-65W,
yeah.
the Citizen limited edition of 500.
Great
It's
watch.
actually available in the States, but I was able to find a pretty good price. Now, I don't know I haven't been charged duty yet. I don't know when that comes. I've never done this before, so I don't know how much
I
that's
think you're
going to
good.
be or when they're going to charge it.
I so whenever I've bought something from overseas, um, and if it came through DHL or something like that, like I'd have to pay like the duty before they deliver it.
Okay.
So you may have cleared it. You may have been able to get away with it. I don't know. But I've never had anything that was delivered overseas and not have been charged duty before they deliver it, come back and say, okay, no, you owe duty. You know what I mean? Like it's always been right before delivery.
Yeah.
So there might be some other people on the chat who have more experience with that and can maybe chime in. But I think you're in the clear. But who knows?
I hear FedEx sends an invoice, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
right.
James Duffy saying FedEx bills after delivery. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that what you use the FedEx?
yeah. It's
Okay.
FedEx. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I've always received DHL, and when they've collected, it's always been before. So,
yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't know. My wife happened to be home yesterday, so I was like, I don't know. I left my credit card home just in case. I was like, I have no idea how this is going to work, how much it's going
yeah,
to be. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know how much it's going to be. So
yeah.
it's all an experiment because I saved quite a bit off the retail price
It's not gonna be
buying in
much.
Japan. But
It's
yeah,
not gonna be much. It's not gonna be much. Like, I think there's like a depending on the country, I think there's like a threshold where you had to pass, right? And if it's over a certain amount, then you pay, whatever percentage of of
yeah,
that over that amount. So if let's say the
okay,
threshold is like 800, $900, and
yeah,
then you're clear, anything over 800, $900, you're charged. I believe that's how it works. That's how when I got my Gino a couple years ago, that's what happens. I think in whatever we had with Germany or the EU, it's a certain amount that was like tax or duty free, and then anything above that um, was charged. And I think I paid like $60 or something like that
okay.
on a watch that was like $1,500. So it's not going to be so bad. But things may have changed. Anyway, look. Speaking of Germany, I got my Damasco
Yes.
DK36 on wrist this evening. Hey, let's go through the chat and say hello. This is Wolfgang's favorite part. and then we'll get right into the soup. Hey, Maison is here, and speaking of new watches, showing off his new Pioneer
Oh,
Swiss Red on the Bobby Legs Discord channel. Looks great on you, Maison. Congratulations. Hey, Rick is here. How you doing, Rick? Underachieving watch collector. How you doing? Wayben, greetings all. Wearing the peacock and eagerly waiting the Satori Billard. Sorry. Now on hold at the City Gateway. Right, because of customs, right? Hopefully it'll get to you soon, Wayben.
yeah. Hope so.
Speaking of Wolfie, there he is. Mr. Duffy's here. Caliber is here. How you doing, Caliber? Wolfgang is thinking of placing a bet on the lines. I'm afraid Clayton will have to cover my loss if well.
Let's make
Uh,
Detroit Spartan do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bruno is here. Good to see you, Bruno. Hey, Rick is wearing his Vacheron Overseas Gen 3 dual time. Excellent. Um, yeah, Rick saying duty fees from Medix is always after.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
I'm learning, so thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Wayben's gonna switch on and put his chicken on in
Yes.
solidarity. Very nice.
These are
Yeah.
I want to talk about it in one of our videos a little bit more, but first impressions are quite favorable.
Mm,
And I
mm.
got the bracelet to fit.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Because
Yeah.
you were a little nervous about that. I changed my bracelet. It is a little bit more complicated than your average. Uh,
Yeah. It wasn't so bad. I was expecting it to be worse. I'm
yeah.
just talking about like cuz Grand Seiko bracelets I can never get a good fit on them, and this I found the Goldilocks fit almost right away. So I was
Yeah. That's
happy
great.
about that. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yep.
We've been saying 800 is exempt in the United States, so up to 800, I think. That's
Okay.
what. But then anything now you're going to be whatever over is where you're going to be
So
charged.
what kind of tax do you pay on the over?
I
how does
I
that work?
forget. I mean, I think maybe I was under the impression that we have deals with other countries, special deals with countries. So I don't know what the percentage is, but I could be wrong. It's not going to be that much.
He told me it's gonna be minimal. I asked
Yeah,
the seller, and he said
yeah,
it shouldn't be too
yeah.
much, like maybe a couple $100 if that, he said.
Oh, really? That much? Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be that much.
yeah,
Uh, Damasco looking great. Thanks, Caliber. Appreciate that. James is wearing the discus burger. Very nice. The
nice.
Satori is presumably clearing customs. We see how much that will be. It has me a bit apprehensive. Okay. Um, yeah, wait, man. I'm sure it's going to be fine. And speaking of fine, I accept Spartan to pay me too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sure enough. Sure enough. Okay, so it's Friday night. I had some chili, but let's have some soup. Okay, that was pretty bad. Anyway, I did have chili. Mrs. Legs made a great chili today. First video this evening. Federico Talks Watches, the perfect one watch collection, Rolex or Omega. This is his weekly series that he does. He does a Ask Me Anything kind of video once a week. He puts it up there on Instagram, and then he gets questions from his people who follow his channel. And there's some three questions here that I think we can probably have a good discussion about. The first one was a question is, do you think, and the writer asked Federico, do you think the hype of limited release editions is over, especially when it comes, to Hodinkee, for example? And Fed had a few things to say. You could tell that he has a little bit of an axe to grind with Hodinkee, but he said that the hype was a COVID thing with these limited editions. That's his opinion, and that now there's not enough hype to keep propping up these limited edition releases, especially with Hodinkee in it. And then he said that might have something to be might have something to be with Hodinkee, or something to say about Hodinkee and their ability now to do these hype pieces, hype limited releases, and is there a decline there? Kind of like a little bit of a dig. He was like, I don't want to get into it, get into another video, but he added that in there, and he also felt like this is the market was normalizing. Flippers who were really big a couple years ago, especially during COVID. I think with a lot of money coming in, a lot of stimulus coming in, flippers came into the market. They saw these pieces as a chance to make a quick buck. It may have worked back then. It is not working now because of the normalization of the market, not the downturn in the market, just the normalization coming down from the hype years. I don't know. That makes kind of like a lot of sense to me, Clayton.
Hmm. Totally.
When I think about it, I don't know per se. I think maybe we need some more time in regards to some of these limited edition releases. We definitely see a lot of brands have gone to that model recently. Maybe it's kind of like a hangover of those COVID years where things were, you can just do anything and it was successful. Maybe they thought or still think that that could be going, but you still see a lot of limited edition pieces. I feel like it's all Seiko does them so many limited. I mean, are they really limited when they do 5,000
Right.
pieces? But you do see a lot. Zin has been doing a lot of limited pieces, right? Some of them have been successful, some hasn't. So I think maybe the jury is still out whether you can not have like where like if all of them are or most of them are not going to be successful. I feel like the jury's still out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Hodinkee stuff, and I feel like the last few have been pretty good, but there's just like a negative enthusiast opinion towards Hodinkee, I think. Like
Hmm.
that latest Longines,
Yeah,
uh, GMT, like, I thought
the
that was
Zulu.
nice, and it's still available,
Yeah. Mhm,
but people thought it looked too much like the, Black Bay Pro, which I
mhm.
didn't really see what nobody else can do a steel bezel,
Yeah,
black
yeah,
dial GMT, like,
right.
the GMT hand may have been a similar color, but that was grade 5 titanium. I thought that was a pretty good price for a, limited Hodinkee limited edition. Like, I thought that was kind of a nice watch. They did a Mito GMT last year, or it may
Mm,
have been the tail end of 2022. That's still available. I
mm,
thought those were going to sell. I remember a year ago contemplating buying that watch and being like, "Oh boy, I better do it before they sell out." They're still around. I saw an
yeah.
ad for it the other day. I mean, the famous one, the Ed Sheeran
Mhm,
G-Shock. I
and
remember the day it was released getting an email
yeah,
that you're on the you can pre-buy now before they
mhm,
all run out, and I was like, "Oh, I
yeah,
didn't," but they're
they're
still
still available.
available.
Yeah,
I mean, some brands are doing okay with limited editions, but, I heard once that authorized dealers, and sellers want brands to do limited editions to get people interested in the door. I don't know if that's the pressure that some of these brands get to do limited editions, but I mean, it's a sales tactic, that, might be, may have gone to the well one too many times with it,
mm,
and people just aren't buying it anymore, like, this isn't going to go up and make like, this is a limited edition, the Citizen of 500,
yeah,
limited I don't know why,
yeah,
um, there's really no I can find really no good reason why they limited it this one, but, they're available, and I was obviously able to get it for under retail quite a bit, so
yeah.
brand new, so
Yeah, yeah, and look, I mean, I still think there is a place for hype type limited edition pieces. There's just way too many. Not everything is a limited edition piece. Like for example, and you brought up like, do we really need like a Mito Hodinkee uh, GMT or whatever it was, limited release? Do we need Revolution and whoever Revolution magazine gets involved with limited releases? Some of them work, some of them don't. We don't need that many. It kind of takes away from the fact, the specialness of limited piece. Anyway, I still think the jury's still out on that. I'm not going to say that it's dead. Maybe anything that maybe Houdinki needs to rethink about who they partner up with, with limited editions. Stick to John Mayer. That seems to be doing well. You know what I mean, right?
yeah, yep. Yeah,
Ban-
John Mayer is, yeah, the golden goose, I think, but,
yeah,
yeah, Ed
Banford stick with
Sheeran
Snoopy.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Um, James is saying it doesn't bother me when a limited edition is not very limited. When I like to watch. Yes, for sure. Grand
Yeah,
Seiko does limited editions because they turn in their business model, keep releasing to keep people paying attention. If they weren't limited, their catalog would collapse under their own weight. Yeah, Did you see the pizza
Yes.
watch? I did. I did Studio One, right? Studio Underdog.
Yeah.
With the pizza, that's
And you
look.
have to buy it from him in person, you can't buy it online, so
Oh,
you have to, the deal is he's going to be at all the in different countries, he's gonna be at the wind-ups, but he's gonna be at some events in, like, Germany and some
yeah,
countries overseas in Europe, and you have to buy it from him personally at one of those, events that he's at, so
yeah.
that's how you get it.
Yeah, no, thanks. I know the brand has become pretty popular in the last couple years, with their uh, watermelon chronograph and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of, some of them are kind of cool. I feel, but this is a little bit too far. This is not for me.
Yeah, they
But
did
I
it
guess
a Hawaiian pizza one, yeah.
yeah, yes, Rick. Never eat Hawaiian pizza again. Okay, okay. So let's finish up the Fed video. Um, the second question, and more to the title of the video is, the viewer asked Fed, which watch would you choose for a one watch collection? A Rolex Explorer 40, so the new one, or an Omega S&P 300? And to Fed's credit, and we know that he's no fan of Rolex per se, but he said the S&P is a better value than the Rolex, but he, in this scenario, would pick the Rolex Explorer 2 if you're talking about a one watch collection. In a bigger collection, he would go with the S&P 300. But the Explorer 40, it's versatile, it's classic, it's a perfect it mixes a perfect dressy sports watch, so the combination there. And I have to agree, if you're going to give me a choice between the two, and I only have one watch, the Rolex. Well, I mean, both brands have like brand recognition and heritage. Rolex probably has a little bit more of a prestigious reputation, right? The versatility, yes, I totally agree. You can go swimming with this watch. You can go to a fancy dinner with a watch. I mean, look, look, you can wear a watch, whatever you want to wear a watch. I get that. I mean, like, you can wear a dive watch for anything. Who cares, right? Who
Right.
cares whether it's like, beach to boardroom, as they say. But but if we're really taking this from a traditionalist kind of point of view, yeah, I mean, I'm with Federico here. What do you think, Clayton?
Yeah, yeah, the traditionalist, I'm with it too. I also think for my taste, the SMP is just a little too.
Hmm,
I'm not a huge fan of like ceramic dive watch
yeah.
bezels, so yeah, it's just like a little too. I owned an Explorer at the same time that I owned an SMP, and yeah, the SMP is a lot louder on
Yeah,
your wrist, so it's
yeah.
just one of those watches that sort of blends in. You can kind of, yeah, do anything with it. It really is the gotta watch. I kind of hate that expression, but yeah, I mean it is. It's a great. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, you
Hmm.
can put it on a rubber strap if you
Yeah,
want to. I know you did that with your sub,
yeah,
just to like make it not maybe not so noticeable, or
yeah,
like people
yeah,
wouldn't notice it. Make it fly under the radar even more than it already does. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
No,
think the Explorer is would be my pick as well.
yeah, yeah. No brainer here. Although I'm sure somebody would argue it differently, but I think we're all in agreement here. And finally, again, another Rolex topic is the only foolproof way. This was the question of buying a genuine Rolex is going through an AD or CPO program. And I thought Federico was going to blow a gasket here because, and look, I mean, he's got like some stake in the game here. I mean,
Right.
he's a secondary dealer. So he sells Rolex on his site. So he was like, he had said that this is exactly what Rolex wants you to believe. They either want you to buy from the AD, and if you could buy from the AD, great. You could buy it at retail, that's great. Or you can buy through their CPO program and pay a 30% premium on a pre-owned Rolex, a piece that you could probably go to a reputable seller in a secondary and pre-owned market and pay a lot, probably a lot less than you would pay for that CPO program. And he said, look, here's the caveat: if you mentally need that, if you are fixated on getting the guarantee that it's an actual thing. That if that's your thing, then go through the CPO program, right?
Yep.
But he also threw in, like, sometimes those CPO programs, they miss it. He's like, he doesn't know about the Rolex one, but some of them CPO programs from other brands, they miss stuff, and then and the stuff is not necessarily guaranteed. He's like, any good secondary dealer will guarantee the authenticity of the piece, any trustworthy person, and he's got his watchmaker in house who can do that. Do things slip under the radar for some of these guys? Possibly. There's a lot of good, like, fakes out there. But he says no way is that the only foolproof way to buy
Right.
a legitimate Rolex. And I agree with him as well here. I mean, like, especially in the secondary market, the pre-owned market, you do have to do some due diligence. You have to trust the seller. Trusting the seller is huge. Got people with great reputations, very, very important. No doubt, I would have no problem buying a watch from Fed. I probably wouldn't sell a watch to Fed or use it to trade, because I
No.
hear he's very, very tough when it comes to that. But buying something from him, got no qualms about it. What say you on this one, Craig?
Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, gosh, we even I think he sort of admitted without admitting that they don't, take the case back off and look at the movement of all these
Hmm.
watches. So I mean, of course, if dealers are getting in a lot of watches and they're not doing that, um, now they'll stand by it, which is, also the benefit of buying from someone like Fed. Like, if you find out that the watch you bought from him is fake, you go to him and he'll be mortified and he'll take care of it for you.
Hmm.
So that's the protection there. So obviously you're fine buying from a lot of these guys, Federico's, Topper, Nashville Watch, like whoever it might be, all these
Yeah.
exquisite does pre-owned, like, yeah, buy from these guys and you're fine. You don't have to limit yourself to the Rolex CPO program because I haven't checked their prices in a while, but I think it's like the 1 year anniversary of it now. I think maybe somebody
Mm.
did a video. Watch Charts actually did a video on that. I didn't watch it, but they went over it. I should have watched it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Caliber saying, I thought Fed's discussion of that question in regards to the one watch, Rolex or Omega, was interesting, and I agreed with his thought process. Mizone saying, you get a lot of variations on the S&P 300, only one on the Explorer 400. Very true. That's a tough choice, but yes, the Explorer probably wins. Wolfie saying, if really only one watch, I'd probably pick a Pele left-hand drive. Movie also says, was told that at a Rolex Bucher, that the Rolex CPO purchase program comes with a new 2-year Rolex warranty papers.
Nice.
Guarantee,
Yep.
yeah. We've been saying Rolex pre-owned isn't for collectors; it's for people who can't get Rolex at retail. So Adidas has something to offer them. Okay. Moving on to our next video, and this is your selection this week for
Yes.
Fratello watches. Fratello talks the most important watches of the last 5 years. Clayton, take it away.
Yeah, so this is a longish video. I won't go to. I'll cover what they covered, but we won't go too much into it. But I thought it might be fun for us in the chat to pick our three most important watches of the last 5 years. I've been in the hobby about 5 years exactly, so I thought this was a good chance to kind
Mhm.
of look back and the watches that sort of were like, wow, took me really by surprise. Maybe I wasn't in the market for them, didn't like them, but they still moved the needle. Maybe they got national attention outside of our little watch bubble. So that kind of thing. That's sort
Hmm.
of what I gauged it on. But yeah, this is the Fratello Talks is podcast form and video. Who is it? RJ, Morgan, and Lex. And they work for Fratello, and they thought it would be kind of fun to go one by one and cover their top three. Have a top three of the most important watches of the last 5 years. Morgan went first, and he picked the Tudor Pelagos FXD, the blue one, the OG. Maybe the line in general, but specifically talking about that MN. It was a new design. It takes roots from the Tudor Submariner. I don't know that they'll ever make a Tudor Submariner again, but this is probably the closest you're going to get to it. That had a military history. This is obviously with the MN and the U.S. Navy version that I have, which I love, obviously. Um, It's affordable. It breaks away from the crutch of Rolex a little bit, kind of its own thing. So yeah, Morgan really thought that that was one of his top three most important watches of the last 5 years. Obviously, I love. For me, it's a very important watch, the FXD. I wear it
Mhm.
every day. I love it. It's sort of my signature watch now. So I didn't pick that one as one of my top three, but yeah, just an incredible release. I think it's still selling pretty well. We'll go. Lex went next, and Moon Swatch. I mean, kind of hard to avoid the Moon Swatch. Whether you loved it, whether you hated it, it got people talking, and that's
Yeah.
often a gauge or barometer of success, right? You can love it, you can hate it, but at least you're talking about it, and that's good for us.
Mhm.
So yep, it had a huge impact on watches. It was the hype. Tapped into different communities, affordable collectors, Speedmaster collectors. I have a friend who loves the Speedmaster, who bought all of them. Maybe introducing watches to a whole new generation, to younger people. If you love the Speedmaster but you don't have that kind of money, you can kind of buy this. Like maybe if you have a Speedmaster and your son or daughter loves it, they can get their own little moon swatch, and then years later they can have their own Speedmaster. It came right before Watches and Wonders also stole
Mhm.
the thunder. Those guys from Fratello were talking about how they had them on at Watches and Wonders. They were, getting introduced to all of these new Pateks and all these crazy watches, and all anyone wanted to do was see their moon swatches. So sort of hijacked Watches and Wonders. It's still having ramifications. So I think that's a great pick for one of the most important releases. RJ picked the Apollo 11 Speedmaster in the Senna Gold. It was the first one to have, it was sort of the trial run of the 3861. It was the first master chronometer also. So it was a kind of a precursor to the modern 3861 Speedy. It was released 2 years before this one came out. Really interesting watch. I like that dial on there, and obviously the gold. So, yep, that was his. Let's see. And then Morgan came back and he picked the Speedmaster, the 3861, the Hesselite. He thinks it's the most significant watch ever. It's the number one iconic watch of all time. They got this version right. They talked about how I'm a purist with it. I know you're not. We talked about this last week
Mhm.
for the Sapphire Sandwich. I like the Hesselite. They're just, I don't know. I don't. I'm not really a Speedmaster guy in general, but if I had to get one again, it would be the Hesselite again. They got everything right with this one. And they talked. RJ said he would have picked the 321 because that has its own assembly line. It has it's sort of like the high horology version of the. It's more a little more hand done maybe than the 3861. So the 321 would have been RJ's pick. Lex then went with the Code 1159 by Audemars Piguet as his second choice. 23 complications, 40 functions, took 7 years to develop. AP just doubling down on complicated horology. That was it was a statement piece by them. That's why he loved it so much. RJ's second pick was the Tissot PRX. You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it was an important release for them. It got so many people into watches. I actually have seen quite a few younger people wearing the Tissot PRX in a bagel shop in Providence this summer. I think I was waiting in line. I saw a kid wearing a PRX. I said, "Hey, nice watch," and he's like, "Yeah." And he was thinking about getting a different dial color, but he really liked it, and he said he still might do it just to have two of them because he liked the dial color better. Yeah, so even season collectors, we know many who have bought them in our groups as well. So it was the same deal as the Moon Swatch, got new people into watches, but it's actually like a not so gimmicky, kind of a more of a real legit watch than the Moon Swatch. Um, and then the third pick for Morgan was the Daytona. The Rolex is revolutionary here on this one with a see-through case back. It's stuff that most brands have been doing forever. It's big news when Rolex does it. And then the Le Mans Daytona 2, he really loved that. It's almost like Rolex was listening to enthusiasts with that release, even though it's mind-bogglingly expensive and no one's ever going to be able to get it anyway. Lex was the Blancpain 50 Fathoms Tech Gombessa sort of reinvented the dive watch, modernized it a little bit for modern divers. It has what, a 3 hour timing bezel, because modern divers are down there a lot longer than 15-20 minutes. Um, and then RJ, his third was the Tiffany Blue Nautilus
Hmm.
that came out. It retailed at 60K. The going rate now in the secondary market is $2 million. Yeah, then Rolex got in on it, PRX got in on it, Casio got in it, Zinn even got in on it, the Tiffany blue craze.
Yeah.
So I actually thought about that one. I'm not going to include that in my most important either, but yeah, that was theirs. So Bobby, what are your maybe we can go back and forth and chat. Would love to hear
Yeah.
it too. What do you think is maybe your first most important watch of the last 5 years?
Well, the first watch that came to mind was a watch that I own and really got me um, really back into watch collecting. And I remember seeing this watch just after it came out in Basel World 2018, and that was the Black Bay 58. Now,
Mm,
the Black Bay line helped resurge Tudor back in 2012, 2013. It was a 41 millimeter case diameter watch. Um, with a ETA movement. They developed their own in-house movement, and the watch got a little bit thicker. Um, but the 58 seemed to fit everybody's wrist, right?
yep.
And it was a classically designed, classic sizes to that watch, and I was just floored by it. I hated the snowflake hands until I saw that again. For some reason, it clicked for me, and I needed that watch, and waited for I mean, there was a lot of
Oh, he's frozen. Hello, Bobby. Well, while he's
am I back? Am I
oh
back?
yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember that watch received some hype for a while, and it took me 9 months to get it, and I was so excited to have it. But I think it really helped catapult Tudor even further. Like, they were already on the way up, back up on the upswing, and then they got that Black Bay 58 in there, and it became very, very popular. Right? It was everywhere. Everybody wanted it, and everybody had it, and everybody would end up selling it. All right,
Yep. Yep.
the success of that continued, and it led to another interpretation, which is the Black Bay 54, which is seems to be a very popular watch as well. Probably not not as popular as the 58 per se, but it's a different market now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
2018, 2019, 2020, the watch market was crazy. Not so much. It's normalized now, right? So that for me it was the first watch that I thought about. What about you? What's the first watch that you thought of?
And I see Rick mentioned it, but my first one was the Christopher Ward Belcanto.
That was another pick of
Yep.
mine too. But
Yep.
yeah, go ahead.
Brought a complication mostly kind of associated with high horology,
Hmm.
well, minute repeaters, but hourly chime brought to the masses, and
Yeah.
really completely
Hmm.
unexpected release. I think that
Hmm.
came out of left field,
Hmm.
and it's really done amazing things for them. I went on to look at it, and it's like, yeah, I think if I wanted to buy one, I won't get it for like a year. Yeah, so it's crazy the demand. I mean, seasoned collectors are adding them. I think it's the first time I've even considered buying a Christopher Ward. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just and now what are other brands going to do? Like are they going to bring some other we're going to have affordable God knows what complication now. So may have opened the door for that type of thing, but yeah, it was a really a groundbreaking release, really cool watch, and I think got a whole lot of people who may not have given Christopher Ward the time of the day interested in the brand. So
Yeah, and that was also going to be that was also another pick of mine, as well. But uh, my third pick, I know I'm jumping the gun here because I know you got to catch up with two. My third pick, it's not a particular. I'm cheating here a little bit. It's not actually a particular watch, but it is the huge um, popularity, the gain of popularity of independent watchmakers a few years ago, right? It seemed to have exploded, and independent watchmakers were everywhere. They probably were already there, but the popularity of it just it was just amazing. I remember thinking that at one point that my collection was going to end up being mostly independent watchmakers. I was definitely going in that route. I had a Stefan Kadoki, I had a Joachim Benzinger, like, like I was ready to go with anything that had guilloche on it. I was gonna go after, but and so many different levels. I mean, very affordable independent watchmakers going up to like astronomical figures. The chat, I mean, people here in the chat, I know so many people in the chat have so many watches from those independent
Yep.
watchmakers, and yeah, just an amazing explosion of talent and art in the last couple of years. And I know I'm cheating a little bit there, but I think that it's very, very significant because, um, it almost felt like, if I wanted to have a collection, you know, I I needed to have a combination here of some of the, big brands and some of the independent watchmakers, like the small time independent watchmakers, to round up. And I still feel that way. I mean, there's no blueprint to a collection, right? But for me, I think that I need that combination, and I have to work back to having that sort of combination. Clayton,
Yep.
you got two in a row.
Oh,
Um,
well, Moon Swatch, but I
yeah,
don't really have to say, they kinda said everything I was going to say anyway. Just,
yeah,
yeah, really, really incredible release and multifaceted reasons for why. I mean, Swatch needed I think their retail stores needed the boost.
mm,
That was part of it. Omega, you owe us one. That was probably part of it too. Quartz Crisis, remember that? Yeah, we saved
yep,
you. Yeah, we're gonna make you make $250 Speedmasters. The third one is I struggle with this one. I was thinking like the Tiffany Nautilus, but I actually went with the Seiko 5 GMT, those SSK models, sorta
mm,
ushered in, and now they had the movement they could sell to micro brands, so it's sorta ushered in, like, the golden age of affordable GMT watches, right? And then, Miyota came out with that, with their true GMT movement that's stepping up the price a little bit, but now every micro brand under the sun has that, and Seiko sorta kicked that off by
mm.
developing that movement in those Seiko 5s, and I think that's been a really popular release. I think now they're doing one in their field watch that sort of looks like an Explorer 2 a little bit. So, and I think those are going to be pretty popular. So, yeah, it sort of kicked off the affordable micro brand GMT craze that I think we're seeing. But I think those are great watches. Those are fun.
Wolfgang, cheating a little bit too, but most important event in the community every year is when Caliber, YQG, and Keith make a purchase. Those guys, yeah, they made some purchases last year. Very, very true. Okay, jumping on our last topic, and I'm sorry, you were done. You're finished up,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
I like watches, Grand Seiko ownership, and the brutal truth. And if you're not familiar with, I like watches. Great channel. He does a combination of a lot of Grand Seiko, and then he does, some of the more affordable stuff, the AliExpress kind of stuff. But very, very well presented videos, and anybody with like like an English accent, it usually works for me. Like,
You got a
I got
great
to listen to it.
voice. He
Yeah,
has
he
a
does. He
really good
does, doesn't
voice.
he? Yeah,
Didn't he
yeah.
lose his channel at one point? Wasn't there
He had a
something with
channel
that?
called "I
Yeah.
Love Watches" and
Okay.
lost it. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm sure something happened that he lost his channel, and then he just started back up with "I Like Watches," and he's hit the ground running anyway.
Yeah.
I was attracted to this video because within our groups, there's a lot of Grand Seiko talk, both positive and negative, and I think we all can agree, though, whether however you feel about the brand itself or um, you know um, the money you spend as opposed to the money you get when you when you have to sell. Put that aside. I think we all agree it's a quality brand. I mean, they
Yeah.
do some really really great stuff. Anyway, so he starts off the story. He before he started a channel, he was working a 9 to 5, and he wanted to treat himself to a watch. And he went to a jeweler, and he was had his eye on the Grand Seiko, the Spring Drive Snowflake, and that was the watch he wanted to get. Well, when he got in there, he doesn't know what it was with the lighting and whatnot, but the SBGA 373, I believe, that's in the model number, with the champagne dial, the silver champagne dial, got his eye. And I know exactly. I mean, I've seen both watches in person, and the champagne dial one. If you, yes, there's part of me that would go with the Snowflake because I feel like it's more of like its flagship kind of watch. Uh, but if I put a gun to my head, I think I'd take the champagne dial one. I just love the way that watch looks. And so he it caught his eye. He actually left the jeweler, went and had a cup of coffee, and then he came back and started talking to the jeweler, and automatically gave him like a 10%
Yep.
off on it. And so you went for it, and he wore it for months and months and months, and it was like his only watch that he would wear. um but one day, he was in the elevator, and he knocked it on the watch on a railing and put a nice little scratch on the Zeratsu polished bezel on it, and he was almost in tears. And there, where he highlights as his first, the brutal truth, one of the brutal truth, the downside of owning GS is that if that is important to you, keeping how it looks, and preserve it as long as you can, because of the high polish, you're gonna eventually, you own it long enough, you're gonna nick it, and it's gonna be hard
Right.
on you if you're that kind of person, right? If you're that kind of person, like for me, I have some identification with that. Whenever I have a new watch, I am so careful because I'm very clumsy. I'm usually so careful not to ding it up, and when I ding it up, I get that gut wrenching feeling. But then, like, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Then it's okay. Like, I don't dwell on it. I let it go, and then I'm fine. And like, if it gets nixed, it just something happens after that first moment, after that first initial emotion, that I'm able to compensate it somehow. But I mean, I did own a Sea of Clouds, and that watch is extremely highly polished, and I was nervous wearing that watch, that so nervous that it didn't stay in the collection. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful watch.
I
Don't get me
scratched the
so
bezel
beautiful.
of that in the first, like, day. I have no idea how I did it, but it was I don't really care, but
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh gosh, I really wasted no time." I
yeah,
put a
yeah,
nice scratch on the top of the bezel. I have no idea how I did that.
yeah, yeah,
It's probably just breathing on it.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Um, if that wasn't bad enough, he started going to like some of these watch meets, and when you meet with the people, sometimes you'll get people, like, you try on each other's watches, and it's probably not it's nerve-wracking, right? Like, you get somebody like trying on a watch, putting it against their next watch, put both on their wrist or whatever. And he said some guy who was a little, had been drinking, you know um bumped it up with his other watch, or I forget, I don't know if it was bumped it or dropped it or whatever, but he put like even a bigger
Yeah.
scratch on
Smash
it.
the faces
Yeah,
together or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so, like, that was like the biggest blow, and he was just like, he stopped wearing it. He stopped wearing it. And for the next 2 or 3 years, he barely wore the watch, right? So eventually, he did send it in to Grand Seiko, and they sent it to Japan, for a service and a touch up, and he got it back, and it was almost as good as new. He said they probably had to take away a lot of metal, steel, to get to the point where they can get a polish on it. And like you said, it's not as good as it was factory polished,
Right.
when it came out. So, but he still loves to watch. Like, he still appreciates the quality. And another downside or gripe that he had was that, with there's no micro adjust, right, on the bracelet. And I think that's one of the big complaints on some of the Grand Seikos with their bracelets is,
My
I mean, they
number
have,
1 complaint. Number 1
yeah,
reason I sold all mine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they do have some micro links, but but you mean you just change the citizen bracelet. It's a similar concept, right? I mean, you have to hold on to the two screws.
Shorter link yeah, well, th those little tiny screws are yeah, but I didn't have a problem with the Citizen, but I
Yeah,
remember with my Grand Seikos, I needed my wife to do it because the screws are just so small and she has, just better eyes, and
yeah.
she's just not as shaky, so,
But either way, it's
she
not an
did it.
easy proposition,
Right,
right?
right,
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he was like, if you're having a fat wrist day, like, you just
yeah,
can't wear it. If you have a skinny wrist day, if it might be too much, then you can't wear it. So you kind of have to wait
yep.
till your wrist is in the right place. Um, and then another downside is that, if you're gonna get it, serviced, or if you're gonna get it like refinished or whatever, it has to go back to Japan, and then it could take it takes months,
Yeah.
and then he said, like, the price was okay. I mean, it cost him £700 to do it, but probably close to 1,000 US dollars for that, which he was like, it's a lot, but I mean, it wasn't terrible. Like, it was okay. It was okay, but it's still a lot of money to shell out for that kind of stuff. But look, the positives are that they're just beautiful watches, right? And the spring drive movement is like their flagship movement, and it's amazing tech. He really liked the crown action, which is like kind of like the first time I ever heard that. I've heard a couple
Yeah,
people say that
I
the
thought it
crown
felt
action.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Miota.
Um, yeah, and maybe he was like talking about like the first time you wind it, or
Yeah,
after it's
maybe.
whatever. But I've always heard that it's a weird kind of like
It's
it's almost like
gritty.
gritty,
It's
yeah.
very gritty.
Um, and the finishing is great, of course. The braces finishing is mediocre, but the case finishing is just amazing and beautiful. And like I felt his like pain a little bit here. Now I didn't, like, again, as I mentioned, I own the Sea of Clouds, and I didn't own it for a really, really long time, maybe for like a couple months. And I loved looking at it. I loved looking at it, but I was afraid. I was afraid to wear it, right? And I shouldn't be afraid of. I know, don't be afraid to wear your watches. Watches are meant to be worn, blah 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 blah. But when it's something is just so perfectly done, like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? For me, it's just, oh man, what a grave sin it is to scratch up that thing. Uh, Clayton, any you've owned some Grand Seikos. Any identification here with some of the things? I know some of the things you agreed with, but anything else?
Yeah, yeah, I don't like that the scratch thing doesn't I just wear them.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. But I would yeah, I just oh, see a clouds, put it on,
Hmm.
and got a scratch right away. It's just it's gonna happen the way I wear watches. So it happens. So that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, the like just sizing that was my fear about the Citizen because I like to wear my watches a bit tight. So Grand Seiko was always hard. It's either too loose for my liking or like way too tight to the point where it's just I can't wear it because it's like cutting off
Yeah.
circulation. It's just too tight. I can never. I mean, I was sent like those flow charts with half link equations and all
Yeah.
this thing, and I could never get it right. Um, and it was like I could put it on other straps. And my favorite one I owned was probably the SBGP 015. That's a 9F85 quartz. I probably liked it a little more than it was a little more sporty than the
Mhm.
Sea of Clouds, so I think I liked it a little more. But and I kept that one for over a year. It didn't deviate at all, like crazy accurate timekeeping. But I don't know. I never found myself wearing it, and maybe if the bracelet worked, I would have worn it more. But so that was my fear in sizing the Citizen because
Mhm.
also same setup, similar size clasp, very small,
Yeah.
half links. No, but the links in general are shorter, and
Yeah.
the shorter the link, the easier it is to kind of fine tune it, even if there isn't any micro adjust. Like the Santos, those are
Yeah.
very short links, but I always got like a really good fit on my Santos. So three full links out and it was like two. I took three links out, and I was like, still too loose. So I went for a half link, and boom, fits
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just something that always eluded me with Grand
Mhm.
Seiko. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're obviously the movements are really cool. Whether it be the quartz, the high beat, spring
Mhm.
drive, obviously,
Mhm.
they have so much to offer.
Yeah.
Uh, but maybe their sizing, for some of these like dressier watches, maybe the cases are a little too thick.
Yeah.
Dive watches, let's get like a solid 40 millimeter dive watch if that's possible. Can we do that with spring drive? I have no idea. Um, maybe they have to be bigger to
Yeah.
fit the movement. I don't know, but yeah, they're a great brand. Yeah, I can't. I'm weird with scratches. Like they just don't bother me. The first Grand Seiko I ever bought was pre-owned, so it came pre-scratched, and there's not a whole lot of Zaratsu on there, but there is some, and those were all that was all scratched up. So I was like, all right, no pressure.
Yeah.
But then yeah, the Sea of Clouds, it didn't bother me that I scratched it the first day, but I was like, oh, how did I do that? I was trying to think, I like couldn't remember. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
great brand, and I like
Yeah.
to see. I saw that Wolfgang is now
Oh yeah.
heavily invested.
Oh yeah. He's got a
He has
sub
a
collection.
collection, as
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Kevin
his favorite
O'Leary
brand.
might say. Yeah,
It may take over Omega one day. I mean, or maybe it already
that's cool.
has. I mean, well, I mean, look, I mean, he's got Grand Seiko and Rolex in his collection. So,
Yeah,
we'll see if Omega stands. Yeah. But the cool thing about your Citizen, it's got like a protective coating
yeah,
on
Duratech.
it, right?
I just
Yeah, and
banged it on the desk recording this, so we'll see how it held
yeah,
up.
I mean, like, look, I mean, it does well with like kind of like the surface kind of stuff,
Yeah,
but you can scratch that thing. You can still scratch it. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, so it's not like a get out of jail free
It looks
card.
like stainless steel. That's the other
I know,
incredible
isn't
thing.
that
It
crazy?
doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the
yeah,
dark because I own some super titanium citizens, much
yeah,
less expensive, and they
yeah,
look like titanium that which I
yeah,
actually kind of like that. But
yeah.
this looks like stainless
I know.
steel. It's
It's amazing,
crazy.
and even I mean, it's titanium. It looks like steel, and it weighs like a feather,
Yeah.
right? It's almost like a toy, right?
Yeah.
And that's a mind f, because like you're like, oh, is this? It doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? That
Right.
it's real. You know what I mean? But it's
It
another
wasn't as
great
light
quality.
as I thought. Like I don't know,
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I
Yeah.
love titanium. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and you're getting so much,
Mhm.
perpetual calendar,
Ah, man.
that
Stock
Duratec
it right now. I'm
coating,
gonna I'm gonna I'm
I
gonna
mean,
buy one by the end of the night. So
plus or
yeah, yeah,
minus 5, and but, they're, generally, I think you can find them cheaper than 9F,
oh yeah,
for the most part. Yeah,
yeah,
but,
yeah. For the
they
most part.
don't have they still just say "citizen" on there, so I think
Yeah.
maybe that bothers some people. They have the
Only
chicken.
here, only here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. I mean, like that watch. It took a long time for that watch even to appear on a U.S. site.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, people here associate Citizen, and maybe it's Citizen's marketing. Maybe they made a conscious decision that they're just going to do affordable stuff here in the United States because that seems what the market
Yeah,
is. They're not going to compete with the high luxury, because their direct competitor here would be like something like Grand Seiko, right?
right.
And we'll just stick with the fancier stuff back at home, which they also would be competing with Grand Seiko. But I don't know, maybe it's just a more part ingrained in the popular culture in Japan, the Citizen watch.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, yeah, give me some more high quality, some high end Citizens here, so I can take a look at, because they do have them. But you most likely have to go to Japan to go get
Well, our
those.
friend Kevin S. went to the new, Citizen
Yeah.
flagship store
Yep.
in NYC 'cause,
Yeah.
he knew I was thinking about this, so he
Yeah.
sent me some pictures of some of those, and,
Yeah.
yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah.
I think it
Great.
was
Great.
the white dial version of the one you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Hey, Rick saying I like GS, but can't pay retail. Best purchased pre-owned. Agreed. Absolutely. We've been saying YouTube shut down. I like watches for allegedly showing fake watches. Okay, so that's what happens.
Oh, it was
I
like a
think
Jody thing, right? It was similar, like, it was
he,
raw it wasn't he
he
wasn't, but or
yeah,
was he? Yeah.
no, I think I think I remember now. It's coming back to me a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, way Ben, but I think the guy from I Like Watches was like didn't realize he was showing fake watches either. And so like he has like this stringent kind of like, I'm not taking any money, but whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
but I think that's what the case was. But I think he did it unwittingly. Yeah. Keith fears the day that he scratches his yes, for sure. Um, Wayman said, I stressed this Shumbun. It got dinged. I got over it, and now I wear it as an almost beater. Yeah, it's still the most striking watch in the collection.
Yep.
Um, hey Sam, how you doing? Good to see you, buddy.
Hey.
Morning, yeah, morning. It's morning. It's morning for Sam
Yep.
over there. Um, Maison saying the Pioneer is my first watch with a quick micro adjust. Once I have it sized properly, it's going to be interesting to see how convenient that is. Um, all right. No true GS fanboy. Yeah, no, you are. You are. And Rolex. The chicken watches are really cool. Maybe buy one when I finally get to go to Japan. Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I think you should get a chicken watch. Oh man, I should get a chicken watch. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop that right there. Hey,
It's
listen,
fun.
we made it. We made it, Clayton. We
Yep, we
made it.
did. We
We
made
made
it.
it through another episode. We ate all our soup. We're in a clean bowl club. Um, man, what you got going on? I mean, you have the birthday this weekend. You have the Lions. Anything else? Anything
That's
podcast wise that you're gonna get back
yeah. I
on?
may. I've been stewing on it. We'll see. I've just haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, I would
Yeah,
like to record something one of these weeks. No promises, but yeah, hopefully.
yeah, yeah. I gotcha. I go through that the whole with my channel. So speaking of, I'm trying to get back into doing more and more videos. So this Sunday will be another video on the Bobby Legs channel where I go over my picks for German chronographs, German made chronographs under 3,000, brand for brand. Best picks for per brand. I have 8 brands that I'll be
Oh,
showcasing,
that'll be good.
and I'll give you my pick for the best chrono under 3K in each one. Hey, guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe. We will see you probably next Friday after if the Lions win, and they are, and they're gonna. Uh,
Yeah, we'll see.
we'll see. We'll probably see you guys
I'm not
next.
saying a word.
I know
Yeah.
I probably jinxed it. I'm sorry, man. But we'll see you next Friday or Sunday. So anyway, have a good night, all.
Thanks, guys. Good night.